This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
The War of 1812 was one of America's most unpopular wars. It generated more intense opposition than any other war, including the war in Vietnam. Although most scholars have focused on New England's opposition, Federalists in the Middle and Southern states opposed the conflict too. Except for two brief periods, one in the summer of 1812 and the other in the fall of 1814, the party presented a united front against the war. Federalist opposition. In Congress, Federalists voted as a bloc on almost all war legislation. They unanimously opposed the declaration of war in June 1812, and thereafter they voted against almost every proposal to raise men or money, to foster privateering, or to restrict trade with the enemy. The only war measures they supported were those they considered defensive, mainly bills to increase the Navy or to build coastal fortifications. The Federal Party, said the Salem Gazette in 1814, have steadily at all times maintained that in time of peace, as well as in war, the nation ought to be protected and defended by a navy and by fortifications. The House took 305 roll call votes on war-related measures between June 1, 1812, when Madison sent his war message to Congress, and February 14, 1815, when the peace treaty reached Washington. Federalists achieved an index of relative cohesion of 94.4% on these measures. Thus, on the average war measure, almost 95% of House Federalists voted together. The Senate took 227 roll call votes on war-related measures, and here Federalists achieved a cohesion of 92.5%. Since a cohesion of 70% has traditionally been considered a sign of party solidarity, the record of the Federalists is extraordinary, surely the most remarkable record of bloc voting in any war in the nation's history. Why did Federalists oppose the war? For one thing, they saw it as a party war designed to further the interests of Republicans and to silence the opposition, a view that was reinforced by the Baltimore riots in 1812 and the refusal of the administration to take Federalists into the cabinet in 1814. I regard the war as a war of party and not of the country, said Rufus King in 1812. The people are no more obliged to approve and applaud the measure, added the Philadelphia United States' Gazette, than any other party project. Federalists also feared that the war would throw the nation into the arms of Napoleon, who was variously described as the great destroyer, the monster of human depravity, and the arch-fiend who has long been the curse and scourge of the European world. The initial protests against the war, particularly in New England, often expressed greater fear of a French alliance than of the war itself. The horrors of war compared with it are mere amusement, said Timothy Dwight. The touch of France is pollution. Her embrace is death. French dominion, added William Ellery Channing, threatened not just the wealth, but the minds, the character, the morals, the religion of our nation. Even after the danger of a French alliance had receded, Federalists continued to oppose the war because they considered it an offensive war aimed at Canada. Although willing to support a war to protect American commerce or to defend the nation's frontiers, they refused to sanction the conquest of Canada. Let it not be said, Congressman Morris Miller of New York told the Republicans in 1813, that we refuse you the means of defense. For that we always have been, we still are, ready to open the treasure of the nation. We will give you millions for defense, but not a cent for the conquest of Canada, not the 99th part of a cent for the extermination of its inhabitants. Even if the invasion of Canada succeeded, Federalists were convinced that the war would do more harm than good. Whether we consider our agriculture, our commerce, our moneyed systems, or our internal safety, declared the Alexandria Gazette, nothing but disaster can result from it. Nor did Federalists expect the nation to win any concessions from the enemy, certainly not on an issue as vital as impressment. No war of any duration, said James A. Bayard, will ever extort this concession. In sum, Federalists saw the war as a costly, futile, and partisan venture that was likely to produce little good and much evil.